Just quickly touching on, I'm scared to even go into like the markets,
Sure.
but like what are your I'm really not great on keeping track on everything except knowing that the world's blowing up. What's your take on what's going on in the markets and also with cryptos, everything? It's just everything's blowing up.
So this is definitely not financial advice, whatever I'm about to
Oh yeah,
say. Yeah.
disclaimer.
Yeah. Disclaimer. Obviously another just so I've had the I was going to say not the pleasure. I've lived through and worked through 9/11 and the financial crisis, and used to be in the financial markets. So
Hmm.
I've traded through the Asian currency crisis, and lots of other kind of crazy smaller crises that people probably aren't aware of. Underrated one was the Argentinian devaluation. But anyway, um, this has been unlike any of those for various reasons that everyone probably can into it, I guess. So it's been very quick and swift. And I think one thing that took people by surprise was how correlated the crypto markets were to, in effect, the Dow, the S&P 500. So
Yeah.
so in times of stress, everything gets correlated at one, basically, usually. So everything any risk asset moves together. And so what ended up happening with Bitcoin and Ether and a few other in the sort of crypto complex is that there had been an increased amount of institutional participation in crypto. And that's something that the crypto world wanted. But the sort of the flip side of that is that those institutions, when they needed to raise capital for their bigger positions, the first thing they sold that was most liquid was Bitcoin and Ether and the other
Yeah.
cryptocurrencies. And so it had quite the downdraft. It's all somewhat stabilized, but everything is minute to minute. By the time this goes out,
Yeah.
S&P could be up, down 5-10%. Who knows?
Yeah.
But it is just all insane. And in the backdrop outside of the market movements, what we've seen is monetary policy trying to step up and fill the void. So the Fed's doing all sorts of stuff. Obviously, the ECB, other central banks are trying to step in and help. But this isn't really it's not a monetary policy really crisis. This is a fiscal crisis. As I mentioned before, like these are hair salons that are just saying, oh my God, the next 8 weeks, I'll have zero revenue. How am I going to pay my rent? How am I going to make payroll? So this is a huge demand shock. And
Yeah.
so the governments are really the ones that need to step in. So that's the next wave that we're starting to see. Here in the US, it's been um, challenging to follow what our dear leaders are trying to cook up to help us out.
Yeah.
Um, but I think maybe to tie it back into the blockchain world a little bit, there is a desire from some of the authorities to try and figure out how can we get money into the hands of people that need it.
Yeah.
And blockchain, digital currency, central bank digital currency is not ready for this crisis. Anyone that says that it can be ready for this crisis is definitely peddling something. They might be smoking something as well. But you know, it is showing how if we had a different infrastructure, things could be a bit different. What is really needed are the hourly workers that have no hourly wages anymore
Yeah.
for the government to be able to deposit $1,000 in their digital wallet.
Yeah.
Um, that's not going to happen this go around. So they're trying to figure out different things, but I think at least it's been talked about. So there just today's Tuesday as we're talking, and there was some stories of the last day or two around the concept of a US dollar digital wallet to all the citizens out there, which has already been pulled from the bill. But
Yeah.
I think I think it's the direction of travel we'll see, and I think it'll really start to move that conversation forward after we get through what everyone's focusing on now, which is just getting through this current crisis.
Yeah, I agree. And again, I think we're at R3 in a fortunate position for many, many reasons, just specifically like we have our jobs. But I actually do think that the way that we do business moving forward is actually going to change from this. Even from a marketing perspective, at least, also like the way that we're communicating, every event we had, and we do so many events
Yes.
every event we have, like poor Julie Kite, regional marketer, uh, uh, every event she was working on has been canceled for the next few months. But everything is going digital and everything is changing, even to the point where exploring options just in case, like, fingers crossed this doesn't happen, but things for CortiCon, we have to make some stuff virtual or So I think businesses actually aren't going to be the same necessarily, not in a bad way for our world necessarily, but this is changing so much more than I would have thought, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely going to change things. I think we have to be careful on trying to figure out what will change. I saw, I think it was Nate Silver. I saw it right that folks, basically, people are thinking we're going to come out of the crisis in a way that they went into the crisis. Thinking that
Yeah.
you know, oh, the cryptocurrency enthusiasts are going to come out of it saying, oh, of course we need crypto to save us, or those that are pitching digital currency like me will think that that's what's going to save us going forward, or those that are really pro work from home think that that's what we'll do from now on.
Yeah.
Um, I definitely have a new appreciation for working from home.
I was going to say, I wanted to hear what you thought
I,
because I was going to say, I think
I
people,
am not. I was not a big fan of it for various reasons. Mainly because I wasn't very productive working at home previously, and I was in the habit of getting to the office fairly early, and I liked being in the mix there. So I have a better appreciation for it. I don't really ever want to be fully work from home, I will say, but you can definitely, I can definitely see the argument of like a 4-to-1 kind of ratio of 4 days in the office, 1 day at home. That's
you are watching because Todd McDonald is on the line right now. We are both quarantined. Thank you for joining me today.
Hello, Catherine. Thanks for having me.
I'm very happy you could make the time. I know kind of it feels like the days are all blending into one another and we have all the time in the world to
Yes,
work, but I appreciate you joining.
it's like a 24/7 WebEx call. That's my new life.
Literally. So where are
Yes,
you joining me from?
I am currently in our TV room since my daughter has taken over my office to do a virtual ballet class. So I'm sitting next to a pile of laundry, and hopefully the dog or my kids won't find me in here.
Well, my dog is currently attacking me, but I can ask for that while sitting on the floor. Wait, virtual ballet class. So that must be difficult for obviously children in school
Mhm.
to be quarantined right now. There is that from her actual like ballet school, or is this like a YouTube thing?
This is her. She has her school is on Zoom or FaceTime or something. So she has her instructor in the corner, and there's 5 or 6 girls that are doing the class. I had my son do his piano lesson on FaceTime, and my other son do his bass guitar on Zoom or something. It's kind of nuts.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was thinking of Tiffany Sarmiento on the marketing team because she has her son Noah and she's like trying to figure out all the homeschooling stuff. It must be crazy having a kid. I basically have a child with Thor, and then I think about actual talking humans, how they're dealing with it.
it feels. I think we've gotten past the first couple of days. It felt like a snow day at home, and I think the kids have gotten beyond that. I don't know if
Yeah.
Thor's gotten beyond that from what I can see on on
Thor has
that.
not. I regret not putting him in his crate, but then he'd be barking right now because he has formed an attachment to me because of the quarantine situation. But I think everyone at R3 has been doing pretty well with it, wouldn't you say? So far, it's kind of tough balancing the life and work stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely, well, it's obviously it's a big difference, and I think the one thing I keep in mind, I think a lot of our employees are, is that relatively, we are in very good shape, right? So if you
Yeah,
think at all the stuff that's going on out there, I mean, it's crazy, and there's a lot of people that are either working, on the front lines and putting themselves at risk. So I guess
yeah,
try to keep it in perspective. If your kid interrupts you on a conference call, it's not the worst thing in the world versus what some other people are going through right now. So I
yeah,
think that's good to keep perspective. And also, we have been putting a lot of work in. And I speak to other companies, other startups that are trying to figure out how to navigate all this. I was on a call this morning where Global Digital Finance did a global call where different companies in different cities were saying, okay, this is how we're dealing with this. This is some of the best practices. And as we were talking about before we started, uh, everyone's experimenting. So we were
yeah,
experimenting to see what works, um, trying to figure out how to stay in contact, over communicating a little bit. I think
yeah,
that's really important. And then just trying to find out like what are the things you can do that maybe won't be as fun or as the same as being next to somebody, or either grabbing a whiteboard, or grabbing a coffee with someone to work through something, or grabbing a drink at bar 3 and hanging out. It's all like a facsimile of it, but
yeah.
we're trying things out, and uh, it has I say we've definitely learned a lot over the last 2 weeks, since I guess in New York we went work from home probably about 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That. What would you say is something that you've learned or you think is good advice to people who are kind of struggling with being quarantined? Because it is currently obviously a worldwide problem. If you even have a job, which we're very fortunate that
Yeah.
this hasn't affected our jobs, but for the people who are working,
So this was a little bit like I did a video yesterday for the company, which is something we're experimenting with, which is kind of cool. I think we'll do that going forward, right? So
yeah,
5 in my case, 10-minute video around what's on your mind. And I guess there's 2 things from that maybe I could share. One is it's really important to figure out how to start your day and end your day. Those 2 things are probably
yeah,
the best way to. So starting the day, it's been really good to set some time to exercise and read, sort of like pretend you're commuting to some degree.
yeah,
So that's been really really important. I think exercise as well, like with kids and
yeah,
dogs. It's good to exercise them early in the morning, so maybe they'll be a little bit less energetic later in the day.
Mhm.
I think that's really important. I think the other thing to keep in mind is we all get wrapped up. Like I think you were joking before. It's like one endless Zoom or WebEx call, right? Uh, it feels like you need to be talking to someone on a video screen to be productive.
Mhm.
But there's so much, especially like we're like R3 is made up of knowledge workers, right? And
Yeah.
everyone, we all need time to think, work through ideas. Mike
Mhm.
Kern is famous in our company for his walks in the woods where he goes and thinks about things. And I think we all need to try and book more time with that. So I think exercise in the morning, walks in the afternoon. That's my two pieces of advice. So that's probably not too controversial, but it's definitely helpful.
No, I agree. I tried to take my dog out for a walk on the beach today because I went down to the Jersey Shore and I took him out and I made the stupid decision of, he's a puppy, he's 3.5 months old, of taking him off his leash. And the walk ended with me screaming, running down the beach 3 blocks. He's little, he's 7 pounds. He should not be able to outrun me, which is a whole other problem. So we're going to go back to the exercise thing. And I ended up slide tackling him to get him to stop. The poor thing was definitely scarred. But
I think, and I think
I
the
got
other
my exercise in.
that's good. It is good. Honestly, dogs are definitely the only precinct voting pro COVID-19. I think
Oh
they love
yeah,
it. Yeah,
yeah. I'm a little nervous that he's too young now that he's going to think this is normal and that I'm going to be around all the time. So I
you
just
are.
constantly
You're
thrown in the room.
yeah. You're screwed basically.
Yeah, it feels like that right
Yep,
now.
pretty
And I'm
much.
currently sitting on the floor because of him. So I think it kind of goes both ways. But yes. So one thing I think a good amount of people in the New York office, I know in London as well, have been talking about during this time how you can help other people. Do you have
Yep.
any advice on that specifically? Because
Yeah.
it's a crazy time.
Well, I don't know if it's advice. The only thing I can say is how I've been trying to make sense of it for myself.
Yeah.
And it does. I'm going to admit that I'm usually pretty calm generally. Like I can deal with certain stressful situations. This has been very tough for everybody. It's also, I think specifically, I've been thinking about it. It's such a weird situation where we have very little control over how it plays out.
Yeah.
And a lack of control is a really tough thing to kind of work through. So I've been trying to figure out how can I reduce things down to small enough size to figure out things that I could potentially help with. I'm
Yeah.
not going to be able to do things like healthcare workers can, or even speaking of Mike Kern, he's working on a way to potentially hack CPAP machines to use as ventilators, right? So
Yeah.
it's that's I won't be able to sort of spoof a firmware update on a CPAP machine to use it as a ventilator. But there's certain things I think we all can do. One is I think everyone is going to can figure out how they can help locally within their towns or communities.
Yeah.
There's so many people impacted either directly or indirectly, especially if they're not working hourly workers. So there's a lot we can all do there. And then globally, just trying to figure out are there charities to work with that will potentially make a difference. There's a lot of good stuff. If you one I think very non-controversial area to go to look for ideas is the Gates Foundation has been doing a lot in this space before the
Mhm.
coronavirus came up, and I think it's a good place for everyone to kind of go and take a look at what they're doing, and there's ways to support them financially. And I think beyond that, the other thing I've been trying to do is reduce my Twitter intake. I've been weaning myself day to day.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, I have. Yes, yesterday I checked for about 10 minutes, and it was
Okay.
only after I started a fire in the fireplace, and so I was in a much better mood. And
Oh yeah.
yes, and today was it just puts you in a tough mood. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I I agree. Except it's like a massive part of my job, so I can't really restrict that. However, no, I know it is definitely tough. I think also, and I know this is probably listeners or viewers would already know about this or doing this, but supporting local businesses, I feel a little helpless just being inside all the time. And I'm not doing things that I'm used to for helping others, but helping local businesses and just ordering out.
It's
Obviously, it's one easy way to help.
I say that's a great point. So in my town here, we're trying to work through ideas to help. Obviously, defaulting to helping out the local restaurant, the
Mhm.
local bistro, whatever. But also there are other things you can do because no one is prepared for this. So
No, yeah,
no business. I was reading something today. No business is modeled a month without any revenue.
yeah, yeah.
So, and if you are a restaurant, a bar,
Here's
the
one.
local hair salon, pizza place, I think it's kind of crazy to think about. So, order out. I guess is the takeaway. I'm gonna go to Nikki's Pizza in Larchmont, New York. We're gonna get some pizza tonight. So, shout out to Nikki's Pizza.
Nice shout out. I've never been. I'm a pizza fiend. But yeah, I on that, not to really harp on these things, but it is actually kind of funny the two opinions for this is going into. I know we're casually chatting about all this, but this is fairly casual. My friend, I had gotten my hair highlighted right before this happened, and she was like, "I am so jealous. My hair looks so bad. I should have done that." So there are two sides to that. One, I got my hair highlighted, and no one can see it for 2 months. And then two, her hair looks her hair looks bad, but it doesn't matter because no one can see it. So like, who's the winner here? I think she is. You know? But anyways, on that note, you can buy gift cards at the hair salons and for your future hair appointments.
Yes. Gift cards for pizza places and hair salons. That's the takeaway from this podcast.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, it's been quite an adjustment. So